So I'm kicking back here in my comfy recliner thinking, what do I want to do for dinner tonight? And you know, I love grilled pork chops. The only problem is sometimes it's like eating a flip-flop because it's like tough. So on today's episode of Smoke It, Grill It, Cook It, we're going to go through the steps of creating a brine for pork chops, and it's going to be fantastic. So, you know, who doesn't love pork chops and applesauce? Brady fans, remember that? Peter Brady, right? Pork chops and applesauce. And we're not going to make the applesauce. We're just going to make a buttermilk brined pork centered loin chop that's going to blow you away. So stay tuned for this episode of Smoke It, Grill It, and Cook It. All right, guys, we're back, and we're going to start putting together our brined center cut loin chop. It's going to be so good. We're going to slap it on the grill in a few hours. But let's start with the pork chop. So technically, every pork chop comes from the loin, right? But I like to use the center cut pork chop or the pork loin chop, because it comes from the center of the loin. It's got a bone. It's kind of shaped like a T. Let me, you might be able to kind of see. So there's the bone here, right? This is all meat here. It's just a great cut of pork. It's got a lot of marbling to it. So if you're looking for a good bone-in pork chop that's going to have a lot of flavor to it, look for the bone-in loin chop, which is the center of the cut. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to make a brine for this. Now, don't mistake a brine for a marinade. Okay, brining is all about moisture content. It's about adding moisture. Marinating is about adding flavor. You can actually marinate without liquid. You can marinate with dry rubs and then vacuum seal them or put them in a Ziploc bag and they're marinating the meat for flavor. This is actually imparting moisture into the meat as well as flavor. That's why we've got all these cool ingredients here in front of us. And again, this is very simple. So even my nieces and nephews can pull this one off. All right, so we're gonna start 2 cups of buttermilk. Now, I'm not a big fan of buttermilk the way it tastes, right? But buttermilk is used a lot for tenderizing like chicken and pork and things like that. So especially in the South, all the fried chicken places put their chicken in buttermilk first, usually overnight with some seasoning, and then they fry it. That's why it tastes so good in the South. So 2 cups of the buttermilk. I've got 3 tablespoons of light brown sugar. I packed it to make sure I got everything that I needed out of it. I got 4 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil, little EVOO into the bath there. I've got 6 heads of garlic, 6 cloves of garlic that I have crushed and minced very fine. So I'm going to put those in, yes, 6. And we've got another episode coming up that we're going to talk about the ease of handling garlic. Now, in this one, I have very specifically 12 peppercorns. I'll hold one up. Well, I can't hold it. You're not going to see this. But I'll do it just for the camera. Well, see, I can. So I got 6 of these little 12 of these little suckers and 6 bay leaves. 12 black peppercorns, 6 bay leaves into the pot. I got 2 teaspoons of a hot sauce. I like to use Frank's hot sauce. You can use Tabasco. You can use Louisiana Crystal. It doesn't really matter. But 2 teaspoons is the key there. You want to add a little bit of kosher salt, not a ton. I'll say, I don't know, maybe a teaspoon. You can always add salt later. And then we're going to zest a lemon. If you don't have one of these little zester thingies, I highly recommend it. When you zest a lemon, you don't want to dig into it. You just want the surface. Let me scrape off a little bit here. If you'll notice, you can see the difference in color, right? What I've taken off is where all the flavor is. If I get too much into it, if I get too white, it's kind of bitter tasting. So I don't want that bitter taste. I just want a nice, I'm really not even pressing. I'm just kind of dragging across the lemon. So zest of 1 lemon. This is really easy. And you can use this on a lot of different recipes. And it's that simple. I just zested a lemon. So what I'm gonna do also is I'm gonna put half of this lemon juice in here. And I forgot a knife, so let me grab one here real quick. Cut the lemon in half, okay? I'm gonna just squeeze half of the lemon. I'm gonna squeeze it into my hand, hoping I catch any of the seeds that drop off. There's one little guy right there. So we'll make sure it doesn't go in. Half of a lemon. And then I'm gonna take my little whisk, so colorful, and I'm gonna just whisk all this in so it's nice and combined, nice and blended. And we have created a brine for our pork chops, or I'm sorry, our loin chops. I pretty much call everything a pork chop, but these technically are loin chops because they're cut from the center of the loin. All right, so let me see, smell, you know, it does smell good. You can smell the garlic, you can smell the lemon, but it also smells like buttermilk, which is not, you know, great taste, but it does taste good on your food, trust me. So I'm gonna put my center loin chops in. They're about an inch thick. So I'm gonna put those in the bath. They're gonna get nice and happy there. I'm gonna put my lid on. You can do this in a Ziploc bag as well. I just used a little piece of Tupperware here. Actually, it's Rubbermaid. I guess the Rubbermaid people are tired of people calling Rubbermaid Tupperware, because it's not Tupperware. Tupperware is a brand. Anyway, I'm gonna kind of give that a little shaky up there, a little bath, so they all get the brine on it. And then I'm gonna let it sit there in the brine for at least 4 hours. Better to go overnight, but at least 4 hours to help impart that moisture going. So we're gonna come back after these guys get a little bit of time to themselves, so to speak. And I recommend like turning them over, so I'm like this, right? One of the chops is a little bit out of the water or out of the milk. So if I do that, oh, he gets a turn too. So about maybe every hour I'll flip it over to make sure they're getting evenly brined. So we'll be back. We're gonna stick them on the grill, and man, I can't wait. All right, we've got the PK grill going. It's kind of like a Weber grill, but it's PK, portable kitchen. I use it to cook my steak competitions. I love this thing. I'm using B&B charcoal. I got it cranked up here. We're gonna just open the lid. Now those funny things that you see right there are called grill grates. They help put those beautiful markings on the steak or on the pork. So we're gonna grab the pork chops. They've been in the brine for 4 hours now. We've shaken off the excess, and we're gonna start grilling. All right, so they have been on here. I put them on, and we did about 3 minutes, and then rotated them, and then another 3 minutes and rotate them. So we're gonna check this out. Oh, look at that, nice grill marks. That's what these grill grates do. They really produce some nice grill marks. Now to get that cross pattern, what you want to do is kind of look and see kind of where 10 o'clock is on the piece of meat, and then you're going to rotate it over to about halfway through the cooking time. You're going to rotate it over to 2 o'clock, so 10-2, kind of like you're driving a car. So we're going to let those cook for another 6 minutes or so, and then we're going to check temperature. All right, so we're going to rotate these so they get the grill marks. So here's a toothpick right here that I put at 10 o'clock. You just pick up your meat, in this case a pork chop. You're going to rotate it over to 2 o'clock. That's what gets those grill marks on your meat. Nice, just a simple rotation. You see now it's at 2 o'clock. So I'm feeling these. I think they're getting there. We're going to check temp in about 3 minutes. Okay, so we just pulled the pork off the grill, and you can see I'm temping out at about 170, 171. That's a little bit high from where I wanted to be. I wanted to hit about 165. So in that part of the meat, I'm at 166, 165. So I did pretty well on that. Pork can go a little bit lower. Oops, wrong way. Pork can go a little bit lower. Pork is considered done at 145. But I like mine not pink on the inside. It's just a mental thing. So I like to go to about 160, 165. We're going to let those rest for about 5 minutes, and we'll be back to cut it open. All right, while our pork is resting, remember we always let our meat rest. I like to do at least 10 minutes. If you're really hungry, 5, but you gotta let it calm down a little bit, right? So let's just review while we're letting our meat rest, okay? We got our pork chops, our loin chops, center loin chops. We made our brine. You got all the ingredients for that. Put it in there, put it in the fridge. 4 hours minimum. I did 4 hours. The flavor was good, but I know if I did them overnight, the flavor would be even better. Or do it in the morning before you go to work. When you come home at night, that's got a nice 8, 9, 10 hour. Of course, if you're like me with Blackstone, a 16-hour marinade time. Well, not a marinade, a brine time. Remember the difference between brine and marinade. Marinade is really imparting flavor. It doesn't have to be like soaking in the marinade. You just put stuff on it for flavor. Brine, you're actually focusing on moisture, so you're kind of submerging what you have into the brine. Now the brine, it doesn't mean you're doing it with water. You want flavor. You want a flavored brine, so it's kind of adding the flavor and the moisture. Okay, so we took it, we shook our pork a little bit to get the brine off. You don't want to wipe it, just shake it. You don't want like a big bay leaf sticking on there. It doesn't matter if there's some garlic on there, that's fine. But the big bay leaf, you want to make sure that's off. We took them, we put them on a medium-high grill. So you don't want to cook these low and slow. You don't need to, because there's already that moisture factor. So medium-high to high grill, about 7 minutes per side. Or if you're doing kind of the diamond pattern that we looked at, it's like 3.5 minutes. Rotate 3.5 minutes, flip it, remember 10 and 2, 10 o'clock, 3.5 minutes, 2 o'clock, 3.5 minutes. Get your instant read thermometer, check it. I like to take mine to about 155 because there's going to be the residual heat carryover, right? So when you pull something off at 155 and you wrap it in foil and let it rest, it's going to elevate a few more degrees. So if I stop at 155, it's going to get closer to 160 by the time it's done. That's where we're at right now. We're letting it rest so it's nice and happy, and we're going to cut into it to see how perfect it is. And I can't wait to eat it, and I can't wait to gnaw on that bone like a dinosaur bone. All right, so I'm hungry. I've already got one cut up on my plate there, ready to go with some grilled romaine lettuce, little balsamic, little feta cheese. But let's cut into this thing. I'm telling you, I love these bone-in loin chops. They are just my favorite cut. I got the bone there. Here we go. Oh man, see, it's just perfectly done. It's tender. It's moist. The juices are running. It's just a twinge pink. I don't like it red. I don't like it. This to me is medium, maybe medium well. It's not well done because I still got a little bit of color there. But I'm gonna use my fingers here. I'm just gonna take a little bite of this to see what it tastes like. Oh man! All right. First thing you notice is the moisture. Brining it makes a huge difference. We've all ordered a pork chop or grilled pork chop. We've cut into it. We've put it in our mouth, and it's like gnawing on a dog chew toy. So this is not like that at all. This is a fantastic flavor. I get the sense of the lemon, right? The lemon zest makes a big difference. The garlic is there. It's not too hot and spicy. If you want it more spicy, I don't hardly taste it at all. So if you want it more, I would have maybe another tablespoon in your brine. But to me, this is the perfect blend of savory, a little bit of sweet, a little bit of spicy, a little bit of sour. It's the perfect blend. I love, you can do this with boneless pork chops, but I love the bone in. I remember growing up, and I remember my dad making bone-in pork chops. And the coolest thing to me was you kind of got to act like a caveman, right? So you got to take that chop and you kind of gnaw on the bone. You kind of felt like a caveman. Oh, that's so good. So, next time you want to be a caveman, grab you some bone-in loin chops, bone-in pork chops, brine them for a while, slap them on the grill, and be as happy as I am right now. Thanks again for watching Smoke It, Grill It, Cook It. We're going to be back with a lot of grilling recipes this summer. Hope you enjoyed it. As a good friend of mine used to say, don't let your meat loaf.